I was able to attend on behalf of Judicial Watch. Part of my work is to figure out what's going on. The Flynn sentencing hearing. General Flynn was sentenced, or was supposed to be sentenced this week, by Judge Emmett Sullivan, who's, as I pointed out, one of the judges in our FOIA cases. And we've been before Judge Sullivan for many, many issues. Famously going back to the Bush administration, we challenged the Cheney Energy Task Force. Judge Sullivan granted us discovery there that the Supreme Court didn't like. So that was an historic fight. Then he was one of the key judges in our IRS FOIA litigation. And he got angry during that case because he threatened to hold in contempt and jail the IRS commissioner if they didn't start complying with his orders properly. And then, of course, I told you about the Clinton email case. So he's a tough judge, and he's a smart judge. He likes to talk on the bench and think things through out loud. And so as a result, it was a 2-hour sentencing hearing. And he said lots of things, and a lot of things that were controversial in the sense that people were saying, well, how could you, for instance, as he said, leave the impression that General Flynn had committed treason? And I was there. I wasn't in the room. I was in an overflow room with Sarah Carter, my colleague Michael Bekesha, and Michael Ledeen, who's someone who's known General Flynn for several years. So we're watching this. And my impression is as follows, that Judge Sullivan was encouraging General Flynn to really consider whether he needed to withdraw his plea. Because you may recall the lawyers for General Flynn put in information, and we've talked about this previously, into their pleadings as they were trying to make the case to the judge for a light sentence, that the FBI, it looks like, committed misconduct in questioning him. He didn't lie under oath, and at least according to FBI officials who questioned him. And sure enough, all that's been backed up. James Comey said he purposely avoided protocol by avoiding the White House counsel being present. Andrew McCabe certainly persuaded General Flynn not to have White House counsel or any lawyer present. And of course, he was targeted for specious reasons about his supposed lies about what he talked with the Russian ambassador about. Of course, they knew what he talked about with the Russian ambassador. So I don't know why they needed to go question him. It's because there were press reports about what he supposedly was telling the vice president. Well, since when is that a matter of FBI investigation? If they're concerned that Flynn wasn't being honest with the vice president, they should have called the vice president and said, you should check with General Flynn to make sure, because according to reports, he may not be giving you full information. Didn't require an FBI investigation. And just to be clear, I don't think Flynn lied. I think Flynn has talked himself in his head that, well, maybe I did lie and I'm going to plead guilty and end this case. So what Judge Sullivan was doing was he was saying, is this treason? Did he betray his country? Did he undermine his flag? And he's not saying, well, he committed treason. He later came back and walked that back. But he was leaving it clear in no uncertain terms that this was serious when you raise issues like this. And when you plead guilty to something that you may not have done, or you may ought to fight, just because you think you can get past it, he was basically warning Flynn, the plea deal may have a different impact and have different result than you think. So he was inviting Flynn repeatedly to pull back from his plea deal. He even said to General Flynn, he said, you know what, I'll appoint a special lawyer to give you a second opinion on this whole matter. Now, Flynn didn't rise to the bait. Special counsel, they tried to keep their heads down, the lawyer there. The lawyer there admitted there was no violation of the Logan Act that they were seriously pursuing. There was no treason. So, the left's smears against General Flynn are out the window. fact, when Judge Sullivan mentioned the Logan Act, you know, that's the act that's never prosecuted, that prevents private individuals from conducting foreign policy, everyone laughed. But that was the pretext under which Flynn was targeted and attacked by Sally Yates, James Comey, and Andrew McCabe. So the sentencing was delayed, and it was delayed because Flynn has been cooperating with the special counsel on another unserious charge, in my view, this Foreign Registration Act violation, Foreign Agent Registration Act violation, which is a paperwork violation, or at least it used to be until Trump came into power, and then they started criminally prosecuting them, anyone who involved in that, other than the Podestas, who were also evidently doing the same sort of thing over which Manafort and Flynn have been targeted over, in terms of unregistered agency for foreign governments. So Flynn is still cooperating with the special counsel, and the judge said, look, I can't give you the full benefit of your cooperation in my sentencing if you're still cooperating. So he said, do you want to basically finish up your cooperation and then have the sentencing? And General Flynn, because Judge Sullivan was ruminating that he may give General Flynn jail. So Judge Sullivan isn't going to do anything, it looks like, unless he's asked to by General Flynn in terms of this corruption by the special counsel. That's unfortunate. Now, Judicial Watch has independent Freedom of Information Act requests and lawsuits on this issue. For instance, we want the transcript of what Flynn said to Kill the Act. Everyone else seems to have read it in town. I know it's typically classified. It needs to be declassified. But in the end, Judge Sullivan is not going to do anything unless General Flynn is willing to say something and make noise here, which is, I don't think, going to be likely based on what I've seen. He just pled guilty again, reaffirmed his plea deal in open court. I watched it. He went under oath and said he committed crimes in lying to the FBI. And so Judge Flynn responds to that. It was a terrible day. It was a terrible day because I think he's being railroaded, General Flynn, and the justice system isn't working to fix it. Neither the defendant, the prosecutor, or the judge is working to fix it. So who can fix it? Well, we can try to fix it by uncovering more details about the corruption, but the president can fix it by pardoning General Flynn.